Hello everyone and welcome to Cuttlefish's weekly roundup with your host Michael Saliba. I'm just going to run through some of the biggest stories of the week, so let's get straight to it. The government have finally brought in a ruling that many other countries have been doing for ages. Face masks are now compulsory in shops. Now this comes after quite a delay. Many other countries have been doing this for months now, but we've sort of come to expect this sort of hesitation from our current government. There is some controversy. For example, it's not entirely clear when we're meant to be using face masks. So for example, at first it seemed that we'd have to use face masks when we went into takeaways, but now they've said that you don't actually have to wear them, but they want you to wear them. So it's not all entirely clear. There's also been a somewhat bizarre pushback from people who feel like wearing a face mask is somehow infringing on their rights. Now, usually I try and be quite balanced and fair during these roundups, but to be honest, I don't have a good answer for that. It seems ludicrous to me, frankly. Just wear a face mask. It's not the end of the world. Other countries could be doing it for ages. And yes, although the rate is low now, and yes, it should have been brought in probably months ago, but as we've seen in places like Leicester, these things can still flare up, and so it feels like we might as well just do it because it will just protect more people. See? It's fine, okay? So if you're going to the shops, just please wear a face mask. In one of the more dramatic stories of the week, scientists have warned that world populations could dramatically decrease by the year 2100 due to a lack of births. Now there's a lot to this story, so buckle up. Basically, in order for a population to stay stable, each couple needs to have 2.1 children. The 0.1 is for the few amount of children that die very, very young. Now throughout the developed world, this number has been steadily decreasing for years. Now for a start, because child mortality is so low nowadays, it means that many people just are having less children, which is a great thing. On top of that, however, you've also got wide contraception use, you've got more women going to work, and just generally some people moving away from the idea of the kind of nuclear family. And all this has meant is that most developed countries have a number now somewhere between 1.5 and 1.9. Now in the past, many respected people in fact, have said that we need to bring population down in order to help for an array of issues, ranging from climate change to strains on services. David Attenborough has even come out and been a strong proponent of limiting the number of children people have, despite the fact that he has 5 children himself. Now I'm just going to say it, David Attenborough is wrong. Now there are multiple issues with David's argument. Sorry David, I am a massive fan. For a start, in the UK, we're not even having that many children, our rate is quite low, which means that the argument seems to place the blame on people in developing countries, which feels very wrong to me on a number of levels. Now to start with, many people in poorer countries are having more children because the infant death rate is still quite high. Secondly, contraception is just not that widely available. But thirdly, and for me the most important factor, is the fact that we shouldn't be blaming these people for having children, because at the end of the day, those aren't the countries causing climate change. The countries causing climate change are the ones with the lower rates of having children, the ones that have rampant capitalism that is causing the burning down of forests and all sorts. If you want to bring down the birth rate in these countries, what we need to do is actually develop them. And that doesn't mean thoughts and prayers or soft colonialism. What it means is it means concrete action that actually helps the lives of those people and doesn't come with any strings attached. Now besides that point, there is just an issue with bringing the population down via that means. Because if we stop having kids, what ends up happening is that we get an enormously unbalanced system where we have so many more older people than younger people. This is a huge issue, a drastic issue. I can't really put into words how much of a problem that would be. Because what would end up happening was that older people who typically don't contribute in taxes, don't contribute physically, and often need a lot more healthcare, would not have anybody to support them because we wouldn't have enough children. So if limiting births doesn't help, what should we do? Well, the answer isn't exactly clear, but that doesn't mean that we should just simply lurch into another problem. We've got a long history of doing that and it doesn't work. There are an abundance of resources on Earth if used properly. Perhaps instead of limiting births and causing a future issue, we should instead be looking towards a green world. You may remember a few weeks back, at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, that a statue of Edward Colston, a slave trader and philanthropist, was torn down and thrown into Bristol Harbour. Many people saw it as a fitting end to a man who caused untold suffering during his life. Well, protesters have replaced the statue with a statue of Black Lives Matter protester Jen Reid. Now, the total number of statues in Britain of black people is not entirely known. It's quite a hard number to actually figure out, but it is very low. On top of that, if you actually look at Black Britons, it's even lower, as many of the statues we have are of figures such as Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu. In fact, the BBC article produced on it said that only 6 statues depict Black Britons in the whole country. Now, the new statue has been taken down by authorities, but it should be pointed out that it may be reinstated. The Bristol mayor said that he wants the people to decide what replaces the Edward Colston statue, and so for the time being, the Black Lives Matter statue has been placed in the museum. Manchester City's Champions League ban has been overturned, allowing them to play in the competition next year. They had previously been banned after a failure to comply with FFP, which essentially governs how much money a club can spend. Now, they take this to CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, who overturned the decision, rather controversially. Spurs manager Jose Mourinho perhaps summed it up best in what is a typically Mourinho statement.
Be punished with some million is a disgrace as a decision. If you are not guilty, you are not punished. By the other way, if they are guilty, you should be banned. So it's also a disgraceful decision. So in any case, the decision is a disaster.
Now, many have suggested that this may undermine FIFA and bring an end to the FFP rule, since clubs just won't see the point in having to abide by the rules anymore. Regardless of all that, what it does mean for the Premier League is a very, very exciting end to the season. See, there's not many points between 3rd and 6th place in the league, and only the top 4 get Champions League. If Man City's ban had been upheld, 5th place would have also gotten it, but now it's back to just 3 and 4. Now, what this means for Leicester, Chelsea, Manchester United and Wolves is that anyone could get those final few places. It's certain to be a very exciting end. So thank you very much for tuning in to Cuttlefish's weekly roundup. If you want more information, please go online and check out the Cuttlefish page. Till next week. The Court of Arbitration. Arbitration.